Hey scribes! Today we're going to be talking about why I talk about mindset so much. And these things are some things that I actually talk about with other writers. You know, I talk about how to improve myself, how to cope with, the stresses of being a creative, because it's not just the creating part that you're doing, but this is a life that you're living. So basically, I talk about mindset so often because when I was a new writer, I had many an issue with my screenwriting mindset, and I didn't realize that if you're going to be productive in something, you have to have your mindset super straight on, and you have to have a lot of practice with it and a lot of tips to just kind of cope and curb some of the habits that you pick up during life that are just not conducive to writing and keeping yourself on track with goals and basically making your dreams happen. So I started to do a lot of research about productivity, and a lot of productivity had to do with mindset and how to get yourself focused and how to get yourself just kind of staying consistent. And so that's why I tend to talk a whole lot about mindset, and I really believe that it's one of the pillars and the foundations of writing. And that's because we write straight from our brain, right? Like our brain is where we conceptualize everything, and we have all this brain power that is untapped potential if we're not using it right. And we have to use it right by keeping our mindset super fresh, keeping ourselves super aware, and really exercising that muscle that our brain is, because if you don't exercise it and build those good habits, you're gonna end up failing, or worse, giving up. I know none of us want to be that person who's like, gosh, if Johnny had just held on a little bit longer. Because if you look at a lot of stories about writers and stuff, they basically held on as long as they could. They did all that they could to keep going, and then that one day, that one step further, got them the job. They said, well, maybe I'll just, give up after this. And if I don't land it, I'll just go do something else. And such is the story for, I think, John Krasinski said his mom told him that you can go ahead and live your dreams, but, just give it a fair shot, work as hard as you can. And he was, while he had a crummy job on the side, and just at the point where he was just saying, like, I can't do this anymore, I'm not gonna make it, he went to his next audition and he did it. And now, like, why am I comparing an actor to a writer? They're basically the same thing. There's tons of auditioning that you're doing for editors and producers and production companies, and depending on the type of writing that you're doing, you're interviewing with them constantly, you're auditioning your talent to them constantly, and you're getting mostly no's, right? Doesn't mean that you are never going to get there. It just means that you have to keep that mindset so super airtight and strong and work it out so much. Make sure you've got that coping skills so that you can do the hardest job on the earth, be a writer. Okay, I'm aware there's harder jobs. I'm just saying, like, creating is really emotionally taxing. It's like emotionally and like financially. Like financially, it's a kind of a burden. Like you can't get paid for it. There's only like one step to writing. It's just like you have to write, and all that time between like writing and like winning and getting paid for it, there's like no real in between jobs except for like barista. It's like barista and then like writer's assistant, barista over here, writer's assistant, and then like finally writer. That's like the only way to do it. Or like, if you're a novelist, there's like just like barista and then like novel publishing house. There's just not many steps in between it. This is a vlog, right? Like I don't have to justify what I say. There's no tips here for you. Just straight talking. But basically, I harp on about mindset because I dislike that there's so many people who don't talk about that aspect of it. I mean, mental health is a huge thing right now for everyone. And as an artist, things take a toll on you because you're so used to feeling so much. And the rejection that's direct to you, it just becomes heartbreaking, you know? And that writing is your baby. And if someone insults your baby, you're gonna punch them in the face. Okay, don't punch people in the face though. Just like, but you know, okay, I'm over exaggerating with this stuff. But basically, if someone insults your work, that's like insulting you. And sometimes you have to learn to deal with it in a positive way rather than in an automatic negative way. For a very long time, and I did a few videos where I do talk about how I used to share my writing online, and when I did this, I got negative feedback, or I read it as negative feedback. I can't remember. I'm not gonna trust my 15-year-old mind to recall what was said, because it probably wasn't that bad, but it felt like the end of the world for me because so many people had told me I had talent to write. And this was the first time I was being told, your writing is not great. And that hurts when you've decided you want to be a writer for the rest of your life. And you're like, gosh, people are so natural at this. How come I'm not? And then you kind of realize, like, the people who are natural at this, they had to work hard for it too. So why do I talk about mentality so much? I mean, I think I've said this 100 times, right? And then kind of said why, but I do it because I want you to realize if you have a fixed mindset, which means that you're basically assuming that natural talent is the only way to be a writer and you can't work on your writing, you can't get better, that can limit you and then you won't grow. And I don't want that to happen to you like it did for me. It took me too long to realize that that's not the case. I had to, in the last 2 years, I've done a lot of work on my growth mindset to make sure that any sort of challenge that I get or feedback is to better me. It's not to attack me. It's not to make me feel less than. It's not to make me feel worthless. Some things that happened to me in my life that were very, very tiny pebbles in a teenager's life became like a big rock. And these things could crop up later on for you in life during any circumstance, especially in something that you care so much about. So for me, maybe it wasn't something that was directly from my family, maybe it was from peers, maybe it was from possibly, you know, a teacher who may have said, like, you know, your writing could be better, it's not, or maybe you're plagiarizing something and you didn't plagiarize anything, which has happened to me before. But those things, whether or not they're from your family, they happen around you and they're always going to impact your mindset. I think it's really important for writers to understand how the psychology of your mindset and your brain can be affecting and impacting all of the stories and the things that you create, because it does. We do it as a self-expression. And those things are really important to have because you want your stories to be relatable. Learn who you are as a writer and learn who you are as a person. Those two things are going to really come alive in your writing and how you deal and talk with people who are in the industry. You're going to be really adapting and changing over time so that you could make your art better or work in a part of the industry that may be tough, amongst people who may be tough to deal with, amongst people in general who are not in your culture, who don't understand your culture, who don't understand you or who you identify as. And it's really important that you work on that as you work on your writing. What's also really important about this is once you know yourself, you can actively create characters who have those traits or those faults and use them to create a really beautiful story with a really beautiful outcome and a very satisfying story that's going to really appeal to a lot of people. So It not only helps you, but I do a whole lot of research on psychology because it does help me create characters with a lot more depth and complexity because we are complex people. So please always be learning about yourself, learning about your mindset, learning about how you function as a writer, learning to feel what's going on inside so that you can understand how you're feeling about what you're writing or why you're getting this writer's block. Just so you know, if you understand yourself, you can pretty much get rid of writer's block because you can understand it. For me, I take a lot of time to figure out what it is that's going on inside my head. Why do I feel like I don't want to write at this moment? And for the most part, it's just me not feeling like I can do a good job at writing this, whatever I'm writing. It can let me know when I'm not giving myself enough self-care or enough time off because I'll be burnt out. It can let me know because I'm starting to feel anxiety about writing or giving someone my piece of writing because I was not taking care of some aspect of my mentality, and it can creep up in this unexpected way where you almost self-sabotage. I hope this helps you understand where I'm coming from and why I feel it's super important to know and learn about, and I hope you appreciate a little bit more insight into why I feel like it needs to be taken care of and why I feel like it's a big pillar of writing. I always want to share all of the things that I've learned with you because I want everyone to know that there are ways to strengthen themselves as a writer in ways that are not just learning how to structure their writing, but how to take care of themselves. Thanks for sticking with me today. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I'll see you on the next one, scribes.